This is more than a ship, more than a machine, and more than the sum of its parts. It's not just a cockpit with engines, it's a symbol. The gold standard for the spirit of exploration. And for many commanders, it's the only ship in the galaxy. This is the Diamondback Explorer. Developed by Lakon in 3300, the DBX was developed as a response to complaints about the Diamondback Scout. So they lengthened the frame a bit, replaced some hardpoints, gave it a bigger power distributor, a bigger fuel tank, and a Class 5 frameshift drive. The intent was to create a better scouting craft for military engagements. A fast transport and resupply ship that could carry itself in a fight if it had to. Nobody seemed to realize they had created what was quite possibly the greatest exploration ship humanity had ever known. Imagine accidentally creating the benchmark for all other exploration ships. And that's what it is. The DBX is the weight by which all other exploration ships are measured. Fully stripped and modified, it's easy to get a DBX to do 80 plus light years per jump. But that's not what makes it exceptional. The Diamondback has enough room to take on an SRV bay, shields, a cargo bay, and repair modules, and still jump farther than most anything else out there. And it's cheap. Relatively. And so, inevitably, anybody who has even the briefest passing interest in seeing the galaxy is going to be in this ship at some point. It's just that some of those pilots never bother coming back home. And I don't blame them. The things I like about the DBX are very much the same things I liked about the Hauler. It's small and self-contained. Exploring in the DBX is very much opting to live inside of it too. So the experience of going across insanely large distances in something so small becomes immensely personal. And it doesn't hurt that it can do everything its larger cousins can do for a fraction of the price. In fact, I have more than a sneaking suspicion that people who take a ship launch fighter on exploration missions just really miss flying this ship. Ask any seasoned exploratory commander what ship you should be flying when you leave the bubble, and they will all say the same thing. Who the hell are you and how did you find me out here? That's the kind of antisocial isolation you can only get by spending months inside of a DBX. But it's not perfect. There are some questionable design choices with the Diamondback. Namely, how is it that Lakon straps a giant glass panoramic canopy on every other ship it makes, except for the one that could actually use it? How does the Type 10 have a more expansive canopy than the DBX? At best, you can equip a Class 4 fuel scoop, but given the DBX's prolific fuel tank, it can take quite a while for it to fill up at a star. And the power distributor really will leave you wanting if you intend to use the large hardpoint. But I don't even have guns. That's just empty weight. I don't mind sitting at stars because the DBX doesn't really overheat. And it gives me time to scan down the system I've arrived at anyway. And aside from aesthetic choices, I've never cared about what kind of canopy comes on a ship. I get all the eye candy I need just fine. The only real downside is when I compare it to the other major exploration ships. It can hold everything it needs to play with the big boys, but ultimately, it is still more fragile than they are. You have a bit less room for mistakes. Mistakes that are going to happen the longer you spend out here. Every time I use a neutron star for a boost, it eats away at a few points of integrity at the frameshift drive. So every so often, I have to pull over and repair it using the AFMU. But eventually, because it's so small, I'll run out of charge to repair the FSD, and I'll run out of ingredients to synthesize more. and I don't have a backup. So if this AFMU becomes too damaged, that's it. I know this sounds like a small issue, but ultimately what it means is that I have to be more careful with this ship. And I don't want to have to be more careful. I don't want to stress about a few extra seconds inside of a jet cone. I don't want to have to worry if I can make it the 10,000 light years to the closest station. I want to pick a system, put on some music, and take my time. And sometimes, I just want to stop altogether. Because coming out here, that's what this is all about. I really shouldn't expect so much from a ship designed to run supplies in combat zones. It seems unfair to criticize its sustainability, or the woeful canopy. Because as a tool for exploring this galaxy, it is spectacular. It asks for so little and will give you the stars in return. A frighteningly high jump range, an SRV, and a view that's unmatched. That is a hell of a combination, and I can't help but want more of it. Incidentally, someone told me that this ship also makes a halfway decent combat vessel, but I couldn't tell you anything about that. I haven't made it home yet to try it out. I took this ship from the highest point in the galaxy that I could get it to, all the way to Colonia. And I still don't want to go home. Not yet. In fact, it might be a minute before I do turn around. I don't think the DBX is done showing me what it can do, or what it represents. We can always go further. Don't forget to check the video description for a link to the Discord and all the other social media sites. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.